When you fill up your car, you're convinced of one thing. The gas station owner is making a killing. You see prices climbing, you curse the pump, and you assume that someone, somewhere, is pocketing the difference. What if I told you it's the exact opposite? The net profit on a gallon of gasoline in America is somewhere between 3 and 7 cents. That's it. A typical gas station pumps about 4,000 gallons a day. Do the math, and that gives you roughly $120 to $280 of daily profit on fuel. $120. That barely covers one employee's shift. But here's the part that breaks most people's brains. According to the National Association of Convenience Stores, fuel accounted for 65% of total sales dollars at American convenience stores in 2025, but only about 39% of gross profits. The other 61% of the profit, it came from the stuff inside the store. The coffee, the snacks, the sandwiches, the energy drinks, the things you grab on impulse while the pump is running. In other words, gasoline is not the business, it's the bait. So if the money doesn't come from fuel, where does it actually come from? How did empires worth tens of billions of dollars get built on a business with margins thinner than a credit card? And why, while thousands of stations are shutting down, are a handful of corporate giants buying up everything that's left? That's what we're about to break down. To understand the gas station business, you first have to take apart the price on the pump, because that number is hiding more than you think. Let's use France as our first example, because the structure is almost comically transparent. When you see a liter of unleaded gasoline priced at about €1.70, here's where that money actually goes. First, there's the raw material, crude oil plus refining. That accounts for roughly a third of the sticker price. This is the part that swings with global markets, the price of Brent crude, the euro-dollar exchange rate. Nobody at the gas station controls this. Then come the taxes, and this is where it gets wild. In France, taxes make up between 55 and 60% of the retail fuel price. The main one is called the accise, a fixed excise tax of about 67 euro cents per liter of gasoline. Then on top of that tax, the government charges a 20% value-added tax. Yes, that's a tax on a tax. This system generates roughly 33 billion euros a year for the French government. It's an enormous revenue stream, and it's precisely why no tax cut on fuel is ever permanent. When France gave drivers an 18-cent per liter discount in 2022, it cost the Treasury 8 billion euros in just a few months. And the gas station's cut? It's the smallest slice. The gross transport and distribution margin runs about 15 to 18 euro cents per liter. But that isn't profit. It includes logistics, operating costs, insurance, wages, regulatory compliance. The net margin left for the station operator is somewhere between 1 and 5 cents per liter. In France, supermarkets like Leclerc and Carrefour keep even less, sometimes just 1 to 3 cents. Because for them, fuel is a loss leader. It's designed to pull customers into the parking lot so they'll walk inside the hypermarket and fill a shopping cart. This is the first fundamental paradox of the industry. The gas station is a business where the main product, the thing the customer came to buy, is also the thing that makes the least money. In America, the structure is different, but the logic is identical. Fortune reported that the net profit per gallon is roughly 3 to 7 cents after expenses. The average net profit margin on gasoline, 1.4%. Compare that to the average across all American industries, which is 7.7%. Gas stations have lower margins than car dealerships, lower than grocery stores, lower than almost anything you can think of. So the question is simple. If you barely earn anything selling gas, why sell it at all? Because fuel is the most powerful customer magnet ever invented. You're standing at the pump. You have 2 minutes to kill while the tank fills up. You walk inside. You grab a coffee, maybe a sandwich, a pack of gum, maybe a lottery ticket. You don't think about the price. You're already there. That behavior is the entire foundation of the business model. The gross margin on a soda sold in a convenience store can hit 66%. A bottle bought for 50 cents by the store and sold for $1.50. Coffee? The margins are even more extreme. The actual cost of a cup of coffee, including the filter, the water, the cup, and the lid, is negligible compared to what people are willing to pay. Convenience store items in general carry gross margins of 30 to 50%, while gasoline maxes out at around 5 to 10% gross and much less net. According to NACS, in-store sales represent only about a third of total revenue at a typical American gas station, but they generate over 60% of the total profit. That ratio is staggering, and the category that's been exploding for the past 2 decades? Prepared food. In 2005, food service represented about 12% of convenience store in-store sales. By 2025, it's over 28%, and its share of profits is even higher, nearly 39% of in-store gross profit. Convenience stores are no longer gas stations with a shop attached. They are fast casual restaurants with fuel pumps out front. And there's one service that illustrates this logic perfectly: the car wash. Once the equipment is paid for and installed, the marginal cost of each wash is just water, soap, and electricity. The gross margin regularly exceeds 70%. The NACS told its members at their 2025 industry conference in Chicago, and I'm paraphrasing here, if you have the space to build a car wash, build one, and add a subscription model. A customer paying a monthly flat fee for unlimited washes is a customer who shows up every week, buys another coffee, grabs another sandwich. The revenue stack keeps growing from there. ATM machines, lottery terminals, leasing space to fast food brands like Subway, Dunkin', or KFC. Those partnerships generate guaranteed rent and pull in customers who would never have stopped just for gas. The convenience store is no longer an accessory, it's the engine. And once you understand that, you start to understand why certain players decided to play this game at a completely different scale. There is a type of business where the margin per unit is microscopic, but the volume is enormous, where the customer comes back mechanically every single week because they have no choice, where the real estate is often undervalued and the businesses change hands without making headlines. A business that is perfect for one particular strategy: aggressive acquisition financed by debt. And nobody embodies this better than the ISSA brothers. Mohsin and Zubair Isa were born in Blackburn, in northern England, sons of an immigrant from the Indian subcontinent. In 2001, they bought a single gas station in Bury, near Manchester. The beginning of the story sounds like any local entrepreneurship tale, but what came next was anything but ordinary. Their strategy was simple, and they repeated it endlessly. Find aging gas stations being offloaded by major oil companies like Esso, BP, and Shell, who were getting out of the retail game. Buy them cheap, modernize the convenience store, optimize the food and drink offering, then use the cash flow to borrow more money and buy more stations. Each acquisition grew the balance sheet, which allowed them to borrow more, which allowed them to buy more. Classic leverage applied to neighborhood retail. In 2016, they partnered with TDR Capital, a London-based private equity fund. Euro Garages merged with the European Forecourt Retail Group and became EG Group. The machine accelerated violently. At its peak, EG Group operated more than 5,500 gas stations across 9 countries: the UK, France, Germany, the Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, Italy, Australia, and the United States. The company employed nearly 40,000 people and served close to 1 billion customers per year. From a single pump in Bury, the Issa brothers had built one of the largest independent gas station networks on Earth. But every acquisition was funded by debt, and that's where the story turns. In 2021, the Issa brothers and TDR Capital bought Asda, Britain's third largest supermarket chain, from Walmart for £6.8 billion. A colossal deal. And like everything else, it was heavily financed through borrowing. The group's consolidated debt soared past £10 billion. Then interest rates started climbing. The cost of servicing that mountain of debt exploded, and the cracks started showing. In February 2024, the Financial Times reported that the Issa brothers had been borrowing millions from EG Group to pay down debt on their 2 private jets. Members of Parliament began asking questions about Asda's governance, about the prices the supermarket was charging during a cost of living crisis. Rating agencies grew nervous. What followed was a systematic dismantling. EG Group sold its British stations to Asda for £2.3 billion. The group offloaded 19 mini-marts in the United States. Zubair Essa sold his stake in Asda to TDR Capital and stepped down from EG Group's leadership. The two brothers, who had built their empire together, split apart. By late 2024, EG Group's debt had dropped to about £4.2 billion, significantly down from the peak, and Moody's upgraded the credit outlook from negative to stable. But the empire was diminished, fragmented. The Issie brothers' story illustrates the central paradox of this industry. An individual gas station is a low-margin business, but a network of gas stations is a high cash flow platform, and that steady, predictable cash flow, generated by the simple fact that people need gas every single week, is exactly the kind of revenue stream that private equity loves to use as collateral. But EG Group isn't an isolated case. It's an archetype. If the EG Group story is about rise and fall through debt, the story of Alimentation Couche-Tard is about appetite that never stops. Couche-Tard is the Quebec-based company behind the Circle K brand, a network of more than 16,700 convenience stores across 29 countries, the number 2 in the world. Since 2004, the company has completed 75 acquisitions. It swallows competitors with methodical regularity. But in August 2024, Couche-Tard played its most ambitious card yet. A takeover bid for 7&I Holdings, the parent company of 7-Eleven. The first offer was $39 billion. 7&I rejected it, saying it undervalued the company. Couche-Tard came back with a revised offer of $47.2 billion. That would have been the largest foreign acquisition of a Japanese company in history. If the deal had gone through, the combined entity would have formed a network of over 100,000 retail locations worldwide. The undisputed global champion of convenience retail. From Tokyo to Texas, from Norway to Mexico, the same formula everywhere. Pumps outside, a store inside, and margins that don't come from where you think. But the deal collapsed. 7&I mounted defense after defense, a management restructuring, a plan to list 7-Eleven in North America through an IPO. The founding Ito family attempted a management buyout backed by Bain Capital. Japan, historically resistant to foreign takeovers, dragged its feet. Antitrust regulators asked the obvious question: can you let a single company control that many stations in that many markets? In July 2025, Couche-Tard withdrew its offer, accusing 7&I of running what it called a calculated campaign of obfuscation and delay. The CEO and the chairman wrote in their withdrawal letter that there had been no sincere or constructive engagement from 7&I to move the deal forward. But the episode reveals something fundamental about the real value of gas stations. When Couche-Tard puts $47 billion on the table to buy a chain of convenience stores, it's not paying for fuel, it's paying for location, for foot traffic, for the infrastructure of proximity distribution, for a unique position in the daily lives of hundreds of millions of people. And in a world going digital, that's priceless. Because unlike Amazon, the convenience store is the one retail format you cannot disrupt with an app. You cannot get gasoline delivered by drone. You have to be there, physically, with your car. While the giants fight each other with billion-dollar bids, a different reality is playing out on the ground. Gas stations are disappearing, massively. In France, the numbers are staggering. In 1975, the country had roughly 47,500 gas stations. By 2025, only about 10,700 remained. The total was divided by more than 4 in 50 years, even as the French car fleet nearly doubled in the same period. The bloodletting was worst in the 1980s, when stations were closing at a rate of 2,000 per year. The causes were layered: the deregulation of gasoline prices in 1985, tighter safety and environmental regulations, the rise of supermarket chains that installed their own pumps on the outskirts of cities and sold fuel at or near cost to attract shoppers. Today, supermarkets control nearly half the fuel distribution market in France. The number of traditional stations, the ones run by independents and oil company networks, keeps shrinking. Over 100 closures per year in recent years. Meanwhile, the oil majors themselves are walking away. BP sold its French network years ago. Shell drastically reduced its footprint. Only Total Energies still maintains a significant presence. In Paris, the number of stations was divided by 3 between 1995 and 2017. Real estate pressure, environmental regulation, urban planning projects, everything pushes gas stations out of the city, and when a rural station closes, entire communities can lose their only refueling point. Estimates suggested that hundreds of thousands of French citizens already have no gas station within a 10-minute drive, but the stations that survive are transforming, and this might be the most fascinating part of the whole story. The gas station of the future looks nothing like the one you grew up with. It's a mobility hub, a place where you charge your electric vehicle for 20 to 40 minutes, long enough to buy a full meal, drink a coffee, do some quick shopping. Data shows that businesses installing EV chargers see foot traffic increase by about 4% and revenue rise by about 5%. Those numbers are modest today, but the trajectory is unmistakable. The head of research at NACS said it plainly at the organization's 2025 trade show in Chicago. The future of convenience retail does not revolve around fuel. He urged operators to diversify their in-store revenue, to lean into food service, car wash subscriptions, and additional services so they can absorb the inevitable decline in fossil fuel demand. And there is a deep irony buried in all of this. The gas station, the infrastructure that everyone assumes is doomed by the energy transition, might actually be one of the few physical retail formats that benefits from the switch to electric vehicles, because charging an electric car takes time, and time is exactly what a convenience store needs to get you to spend money. A gas station fill-up takes 3 minutes. An EV charge takes 20 to 40. That's 20 to 40 minutes of a captive customer standing inside your store, browsing your shelves, ordering from your food counter, using your car wash. The electric future doesn't kill the gas station. It turns it into a far more powerful retail platform. So let's bring it all together. The gas station might be the most counterintuitive business in existence. It's a business where the product advertised in giant numbers on the sign outside is the one that generates the least profit, where more than half of what you pay at the pump goes straight to the government in taxes, where the retailer's margin is measured in pennies, and where real profitability depends entirely on everything you buy in addition to fuel: the coffee, the sandwich, the car wash, the lottery ticket. It's an industry where 75% of French stations vanished in half a century, but where empires worth tens of billions were built and sometimes destroyed on the stations that remained, where a private equity fund can turn a handful of pumps into bank collateral, and a Canadian company can offer $47 billion for a chain of convenience stores. It's a business where the value isn't in the product, it's in the flow, in the fact that you're there, captive, regular, predictable, that you come back every week, that for 3 minutes or 40 minutes of charging, you're a potential customer for everything behind the glass door. Gas stations don't sell gasoline, they sell your attention. And in a world that's fighting to capture every second of attention online, the gas station might be the last physical place on Earth where that attention is guaranteed. That's why this business, despite everything you've heard, is not dying. It just changed its fuel.